Hey guys, good morning. It's Kyle here, and posting this video specifically to the street team group because I wanted to share a little something with you about what, at least in part, because there's a lot of things that inspired me to write Coma, California, and this is one of those things. Back in 2006, a little over a year before I would start writing Coma, my brother was in high school at the time. He was 15, rolling up slowly on his 16th birthday, and he was for a while feeling really sick, having flu-like symptoms and stuff, and he was in and out of school just because he'd be good one day and not so good the next, and just didn't seem to be getting any better. And then I was working a graveyard job at the time, and so I would get home at like 5 or 6 in the morning some nights, or some mornings I should say, and I wouldn't get up until like 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And I remember my phone buzzing next to my head while I was still sleeping, which I ignored because I wanted to go back to sleep, because I had only been asleep for a few hours at that point. And when I woke up, I decided to check my voicemail because I knew it was probably one of my parents. And I get this voicemail from, if I remember correctly, my dad, saying that my brother was in the hospital. And I wasn't really sure I was hearing it because I was kind of half asleep. I wasn't really fully awake, and I was kind of just out of it. And so I took your brother to the hospital. He's pretty sick. Doctors believe that he has meningitis, and I didn't know much about meningitis then, and when I learned about it I realized how serious it was. And so I got up and headed out to Loma Linda University Medical Center where my brother was, and that was a pretty crazy situation in and of itself. What was even crazier is that leading up to my brother going to the hospital, I found out from my dad that morning my brother was awake and still feeling pretty lousy. My dad decided to stay home with him and work from home that day. And he asked my brother if he was okay. My brother's just, shrugging, not really feeling that great naturally. And so my dad asked him if he wanted to stay home, and my brother said yes. And it was after that he got this really glassy-eyed look, and it was just this kind of 1,000-yard faraway stare that my dad immediately was alarmed and concerned. He asked my brother, "You okay?" And then he asked, my brother didn't respond. He said, "Corey," my brother's name, "Corey, do you know who I am?" And my brother was looking around like this, kind of, and he said my mom's name. He said, "Mom," and my dad could tell something was obviously very wrong, and so he tried to get my brother out of bed. And my brother started acting very erratic and very aggressive. He didn't want to be touched. He wouldn't sit still. He was thrashing his hands all over, almost, in a real spastic kind of fashion. And my dad's trying to get him dressed, and that was a fight. And long story short, barely got him in the car and rushed him immediately to the ER. And as opposed to urgent care, he rushed him to the ER at the hospital where I was born, actually. And the moment that my dad got him there, by that time my brother had gotten these red splotches all over his skin. And thankfully they knew exactly what was going on, and they knew exactly what to do. And so they quickly rushed him to Loma Linda Medical Center, and here in Southern California where we live, and they got him there and automatically just got him on the antibiotic treatment. Long story short, my brother was only in the hospital for a few days. He was sedated 2 of those days while he was treated. So there's 2 days he doesn't remember, which, my brother being the weird person he is, he oddly thinks that's kind of cool. He was unconscious for 2 days. And, he came out of it good. No brain damage, nothing. It was viral meningitis, so he was very fortunate because bacterial, I know, is much more serious, and there's a much greater chance of it being fatal because you can't treat it as quickly. So thankfully, because he was at my dad's, and my dad was home, he was able to get to the hospital, very quickly. And I think about it because my parents were split up, and they actually got divorced the year prior, and so my brother was 50% of the time at my dad's and 50% of the time with me and my mom at her house. And I just think about the fact that was my brother's week at my dad's. And when I think about how it could have been the complete opposite, he could have been with me at my mom's house. And had he been there, the situation could have gone much differently. Because of the nature of my job and when I slept, I would have been asleep, and I wouldn't have known that something was wrong. And my brother, instead of being, with my dad being able to think and act as quickly as he did, I wouldn't have been able to help him. I probably, and this is going to sound overly dramatic, but just because of the nature of this virus, because of the nature of this particular disease, I know that it's entirely possible. Had I not been awake, had he been there with me, because I wouldn't have been awake, I wouldn't have known something was wrong, and I could have very, very quite possibly found my brother dead in his room. And I thank God it's something I don't have to think about, except in, that it's what could have happened. It could have happened, but it didn't. And I just thank God for that. Whenever it comes to mind, I thank God, because and I really believe that, in the midst of the difficult situation with my family, my parents split up, and my parents, having gotten divorced, it could have been much different. But God worked in that situation, and it was the week that my brother was at my dad's, because my mom was working and I was asleep, and just, I don't know, it could have gone very differently. And when it came around the time that I started writing Coma, I started thinking about Brandon's motivations and why he was the way he was, and why he slept into obscene hours, and why he seemed to be so just rotten. And then I thought about that situation, and I kind of flipped it to where I think about what it would have been like if I had lost my brother, which I'm grateful to say that I didn't, and he's doing incredibly well. He's very talented musician and working very hard to achieve his goals. Very creative. He actually designed, my brother was the one who actually designed the cover for Coma, California, so you have him to thank for the beautiful cover. And so anyways, my brother is thankfully still alive and a part of my life, and that situation, I drew inspiration from that situation. And you guys are, I don't know if benefiting is the right word, but you are definitely finding out Brandon's heart as you read, and that's part of it. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Sorry for getting emotional on you. It probably didn't help that I was listening to Kelly Clarkson before this. I don't know if I should be admitting that, but it was her song from American Idol about her dad, so I was already emotional. Anyways, hope that little bit of inside story you guys enjoyed, and I hope you're enjoying Coma, California. So I will see you guys later. Take care.